Hello and welcome back to Fist Entertainment. Sorry it's been a while since my last review. I've just been very busy. So let's get right into it. There's a movie I saw in 2009 that I did not know if it was going to be very good or not. It was a reimagining of the Star Trek movies. The trailers definitely teased it was going to be a very good one, but I wasn't convinced until I watched the movie. Then I watched it, and boy was I convinced. It was one hell of a good movie. Was it the best Star Trek movie of all time? No. Not even close, but it's one of the better Star Trek movies. And of course, I'm talking about J.J. Abrams' Star Trek from 2009. Which I have in this special collector's edition of 3 discs. I lost a snap case a long time ago, so... Or should I say the overcase thing goes on top. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that the J.J. Abrams Star Trek 2009 really captured what made the original Star Trek so good. Especially back in the 1960s television series days. It really captured that essence as well. Chris Pine is very brilliantly cast as James T. Kirk in this movie. So is Zachary Quinto is Mr. Spock. Carl Urban was actually a very interesting choice to play McCoy, but it actually works in its own original, unique way. Simon Bugg, there is nobody else. Or Simon Ping, whatever his name is. There is nobody else in the world who could have played Scotty, in my opinion. He embodies that role. I would say, other than the character of Benji in the Mission Impossible films, it's probably his best role. I really enjoy him as Montgomery Scott. And the visual effects in this movie were pretty good. The Enterprise looks a little bit different because it's a much more modern take, so it has a more realistic type of look, I guess. More stylish. But overall, I actually really enjoyed the movie, as you can see from the poster in the background. That is a real theatrical poster, I might add. How about for a movie theater? No. But it's the design of the poster. I think that people are not expecting this movie to be good in a lot of ways. Around this time, Star Trek had been demonized and have been taken quite a few levels down by Star Wars with its prequels, which were very successful, despite the fact that everybody hates them. You know, guys all know I like them. But, yeah, no one had faith in Star Trek. Not to mention, at this time, you had a lot of big blockbusters that were out ruling the box office at that point in time. You had Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, I believe. And you had G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, which both made a lot of money. No one expected this movie to make any money. This movie beat the box office numbers of both of those films. I think that it made half a billion worldwide, I believe. But definitely was a good success that no one saw coming. And it really did breathe new life into Star Trek. But in my way, I think this is the easiest way to kind of point out the overall difference between the previous films and this one. These new movies by J.J. Abrams are designed for people who don't like Star Trek instead of people that do, while still respecting the ones that do. And so you do not have to be a fan of Star Trek to like these movies. These movies are just good. And they're actually, that's the attention. They're supposed to draw in people who would say, oh, Star Trek? Oh, that's so fucking lame. Only children like that. You can watch this movie, it's like, oh, this is good. That's kind of the way that this film kind of is, in a nutshell. Alright. Plot and premise and synopsis of the film. Film opens up in the earlier part of the 21st century, in which we come across the USS Calvin. Forget the name of the captain of the ship, but the second in command would be Commander George Kirk. And after they encountered this anomaly in space that turns out to be a 24th century, possibly 26th century, nobody knows for sure on that one, Romulan ship with enormous power that emerged from a anomaly in space, which of course we know is a black hole. Later in the movie, that they arrived from the future into the past. Which was interesting is they're actually into the pursuit of Ambassador Spock. Yes, our Mr. Spock, played again brilliantly by Leonard Nimoy. So no, to people, this is not a complete reimagining. It's actually a sequel of sorts, as well as reimagining. Yeah, and I don't mind because I'm telling the whole plot in a quicker version, so I'll go in to tell you why they were there and all that stuff. It seems that in the 24th century, I would say most likely this late 24th, possibly early 25th century, Ambassador Spock uses a one-man vehicle to go ahead and deflect the path of a black hole that was getting very dangerously close to Romulans to destroy the Romulan homeworld. He fails, the Romulan homeworld is destroyed. And the Captain Nero of this futuristic Romulan ship at the time goes on a revenge frenzy to capture and get justice. And he gets sucked into the same black hole that pretty much destroyed Romulus. Spock and his one-man vehicle goes behind him, and they both emerge in the 23rd century. That's basically what happens, and that's where they come across the USS Calvin. Romulans kill the captain. They attempt to destroy the USS Calvin. At the same time, George Kirk's wife is giving birth to their first son. And George Kirk has to stay behind to fight off the Romulan forces, pretty much torpedoes, phasers, stuff like that. He has to fight them all off so that people can get to safety. So he can't get to his wife in the shuttlecraft. He's leaving the USS Calvin. But his last thing he does is names his son. His son would become James T. Kirk, the overall hero of pretty much the Star Trek universe, as it pretty much stands in the original films as well as in these newer ones. And basically he dies as the USS Calvin is destroyed. And then approximately 25 years later, because I'm not going to tell the early chronicles of James T. Kirk as a little child. I'll just go into the main plot. Need to hurry up here, only at 15 minutes, and we're already at 10 minutes and 32 seconds. The middle half of the movie takes place approximately 25 years later. After being a sort of a James Dean rebel without a cause type, James T. Kirk is pretty much recruited into the United Federation Academy. It's the United Federation of Planets Academy, and becomes a Starfleet cadet. In the, of course, the historical event in the original Star Trek films, how he cheated the Kobayashi Maru test, is disclosed right there, and that's where we come across Commander Spock, played by Zachary Quinto. And I guess I won't go to his back little kid segments of the movie either, because that stuff is kind of boring. Just kind of get this. And basically, the anomaly in space is after Kirk is not expelled, but suspended from space travels in exploration, as well as put on arrest for breaking the rules, obviously. McCoy, played by Carl Urban, who Kirk meets when he gets recruited into Starfleet. He becomes a cadet with him. Basically, he plans a coup to get Kirk onto the ship. And of course, they go onto the newly formed USS Enterprise, which, believe it or not, took Kirk 10 years to go ahead and actually, was it 10? I think it was like 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years. As USS Starfleet Academy is when the USS Enterprise was actually created. Of course, obviously, follow the timeline stuff. Captain Pike is the commander of the USS Enterprise. Same anomaly from the Romulan ship is occurring again. The Starfleet goes after them, and all the ships are destroyed except for the Enterprise. There's a quarrel between when things. Pike gets captured by Nero. Kirk takes place as second officer. Spock takes the place of captain. Spock and Kirk don't get along because Spock wants to follow the book. Kirk wants to think outside the book and do what's right. Kirk gets kicked off the ship. Kirk discovers Scotty on this abandoned planet where he discovers Ambassador Spock. And this is all after the big event of Vulcan being destroyed by a supernova red matter black hole weapon. That's the best way I can kind of describe it. The ultimate weapon, let's put it that way. and Nero destroyed Vulcan. All the inhabitants on it. Only about 20 people survived. Kirk comes across Scotty. We discovered that Scotty's been working on something called interplanetary travel transportation. So that means you can travel, transport someone from somewhere all the way out there, and that's how you get back on the ship. And they battle it out with Nero, rescue Captain Pike. This is after Spock is removed from command, and Kirk takes his rightful place as captain. And then they save the world, destroy the Romulan ship, and then basically Kirk becomes captain of the Enterprise, Pike becomes the admiral, Spock becomes the first officer, and then we go on to our travels, going into the next movie. Well, I won't be able to go into the quality of the movie, but I would say that it is very good quality, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next review, which will be for Star Trek Into Darkness. Until then.